Okay, Dr. Montessori's work in India began about 100 years ago. And as we know, her ideas about human development are based on some understandings of universal principles of human development that relate to the first 24 years of life. I'm sure this is familiar to most of you in the room. And the battery? Okay, thanks. AMI courses for the first plane of development have been pretty well established in the educational landscape here. But the ideas and the implementation for children of the second and the third planes are relatively new by comparison to the first plane work. And that community that's meeting the needs of second plane children is expanding as you have more and more courses given by your own Indian trainers. And that is thanks to the service of Anne Dunn, who I would also like to recognize. So I don't know how many of you, I've met a few of you, but I can imagine that at least some of you in this audience are part of that expanding second plane community, or you may be thinking about becoming part of it. Thank you. And if that's a challenge that you're considering taking on, I want to emphasize how important it is not just to take the diploma course, but to implement this work with children. Because we only grow stronger when people actually implement these ideas with children, not just talk about it amongst ourselves. And so I want to talk about Dr. Montessori's ideas for 6 to 12 children and how they relate to our conference theme of service. And just as Jean Miller's life was one of service, and as Anne has developed this second plane community here through many years of service, I think that we have to serve children by, as Montessori put it, broadcasting the seeds of cosmic education through our work in schools. In many places around the world, people can see that what society typically offers to children in the name of education isn't really meeting their needs. It's also not really meeting the needs of society, and often it's not even healthy for children. And during the pandemic, when there were a lot of parents who were at home with their children, I think people began to recognize that other ways could be possible. And so for us, this is an opportunity because in Montessori, we do offer something that's different and something that's better and something that has a much broader and grander vision than the traditional approach to education. And it's amazing that we've actually already been offering it for so many years. And our approach to education is really based on this constancy of understanding. So we have a constant thread running through that we recognize about human development, and that's where our ideas come from. For some people, our ideas may seem confronting, especially with people who are most comfortable with that traditional educational paradigm. But the paradigm we have for 6 to 12-year-old children, or what we call elementary children, is known as cosmic education. Dr. Montessori's interest in second plane children was actually already present in the 1920s. There was a woman in the Netherlands that you may have heard of in your own training named Mrs. Joosten, and she ran classes for 6 to 12-year-old children at that time. And Dr. Montessori observed some of those classes, and she developed some of her ideas about cosmic education based on those observations. And then later, she developed some of her ideas about mathematics when she was in Spain, where the book Psychoarithmetic was published in the early 1930s. And she had also done some experimentation in Laren, Holland, where she created some biology materials. In 1936, Dr. Montessori explained the plan of education that she was calling cosmic education in London, where she said, she invited us to give children, quote, a vision of the whole universe. And so I think we can examine the history of the development of her thinking about cosmic education and what this vision of the universe was really about. So the approach of cosmic education was a response to her thinking about what she called a cosmic vision or viewpoint, a cosmic plan, and the child as a cosmic agent. And that word cosmic comes from an ancient Greek word, cosmos, which means order, and it also means the world. And that's because the ancient Greeks thought that the world was in a perfect order. So when we talk about this idea of cosmic vision, it's a way of seeing the world. And this is the world, as I said, on a much bigger or broader or grander scale, because it encompasses really the whole universe and everything that's within it. So that means it includes all of humanity through time, and each individual human being is seen through all those stages of a lifetime, some of which we saw a moment ago on the screen. And this cosmic vision recognizes that all the elements of the natural world and the social environment are related to all the other elements. So Montessori's cosmic vision applies to the human being in all his or her stages of development, not just children between the ages of 6 and 12. Because in Montessori, we have a shared understanding that really guides how we're going to support human development at any age or stage. When we talk about the cosmic plan, that relates to order and unity of everything that's within the universe. And this is an order that is visible to anyone who just probably gets off their phone, first of all, and observes and reflects. Just as we know that the human tendencies are visible as soon as we start looking for them in human behavior. And so we can see order in the natural world, and we can see order in the non-living factors of our planet. And being able to recognize this order is why, for example, things like global warming worry us, because we understand that it means that the balance of that natural order has been disturbed. So in this cosmic plan, the living and the non-living or inorganic factors of our Earth are all connected. The inorganic factors would be things like the sun, the rocks, or the land, we could call it, the water, the air. They're what make up our land and its climate. And the natural world is made up of organic factors, which are things like the plants and the animals, and we are among them. So all of these different elements or factors have their own special part in maintaining the balance that allows life as we know it to exist. And contained within that understanding of the balancing factors in the environment is considering how will that balance be maintained. So Montessori called the organic and the inorganic factors cosmic agents. She said they are cosmic agents of creation. And she said that as these cosmic agents follow their own laws of existence, which have been in place since the very beginning, they perform some kind of unconscious service, which contributes toward the whole and which maintains a balance. So when we talk about the child as a cosmic agent, it refers to the idea that in this progression of the earth and its life forms building and developing over time, the last and the most recent arrival was the human being, us, right? And we know that the human being came with certain special gifts, which we were reminded of yesterday afternoon in that beautiful little play. We have the gift of the mind to reflect. We have the gift of the heart to love in the sense of caring for one another. And we also have the gift of the hand as a tool with which to implement our ideas. And among all the other cosmic agents, we're really the only one that has this ability to reflect and to act consciously. So our consciousness means that we can act with intention to maintain balance, and so therefore we have a role as a caretaker among all those other cosmic agents that I've mentioned. And so because we can act with intention, the human being becomes or is a spiritual agent. All the other cosmic agents also help to maintain this balance, but the way they act follows a set pattern, or we could maybe say a script, a set of laws that they have. And we're different. Because we have consciousness, it invites us to consider, how can I change my relationship to all the other factors so that my existence doesn't cause imbalance here? But also because of consciousness, we can be led astray by our own thinking. And at certain moments, I think, maybe a birth or a death, we do tend to recognize what's really important and what is just a distraction of our own consciousness. And I think many people, not just Dr. Montessori, have really considered this idea of how can we guide human consciousness so it does its best for us. And in fact, you know the essay on cosmic education, I'm sure some of you, by Mario Montessori. And he starts by saying that these concepts that I'm speaking about now, they're not new. They've been proposed, they've been considered, they've been discussed for thousands of years by different groups of people. And much greater thinkers than I have considered consciousness as it's related to belief systems that might include philosophy or religion or a political framework or perhaps more recently psychology. So for example, in the last century, the psychiatrist Carl Jung said, "The fact that man has everywhere and always spontaneously developed religious forms of expression, and that human psyche from time immemorial has been shot through with religious feelings and ideas." Okay, so this is a sort of maybe a summary or an overview of some of these ideas about where this word cosmic in our expression cosmic education is coming from. Do you think I could have expressed any of these in the same way the year after I completed my first training at Washington Montessori Institute? I don't think so. I think if you had asked me in 1996 to explain cosmic education and its foundations, I think I would have offered a pretty brief and superficial explanation. And I think it's through working with children day after day, through implementing cosmic education, whether we're doing it well or whether we're doing it poorly, that we come to see how what Dr. Montessori wrote connects to daily life and how it can make a difference when we accept this challenge to serve children. We know that Dr. Montessori had been thinking about the idea of order within the universe in the early days of her work. But it wasn't really until her time together with Mario in Kodaikanal that she fully connected all of her ideas, or that she started offering them as part of a training course. It was in Kodaikanal where the Montessoris benefited from Mario's work with children in the school that was run by Lina Wickramaratne, that Dr. Montessori was able to draw together a lot of the threads of her thinking about cosmic education and second plane children. And as Mario described it in an interview, the way it worked was he and Miss Lina worked with the children. And then he would discuss the responses of the children with his mother. And so each day they took the children out into nature to observe and to care for a garden. And they also wanted children to experience animals, to see relationships between plants and animals. So Mario also made terrariums. He would catch and keep one animal at a time in a terrarium. And he thought, or they thought together, this is how the children would be able to observe the animals and their needs. And Mario describes in this interview the problem of getting these wild animals to eat in captivity, because they didn't eat. And of course, no one wanted these animals to die. That was not the lesson that we wanted for the children, right? It was only when he saw a frog pounce on a moving pebble that he realized that this frog and other animals in their terrariums weren't eating because they needed live food. And it was this realization that led the Montessoris to start reflecting on this idea of balance in nature, that one force balances another force. So, for example, fish eating mosquito larvae. And if this balance didn't exist, then certain populations or certain natural factors would overtake the others, and then the result would be conditions that no longer supported survival. And so this thinking included ideas about interdependence of humans with nature and humans with one another. And it also included thinking about the natural systems of the land, the water, the air, the energy of the sun, so all of these relationships together. And so we could say that the time that the Montessori spent in Kodaikanal was really the completion of Dr. Montessori's development of this idea of cosmic education. And we present these ideas to children through both explicit and implicit presentations during their time with us. And there's, in fact, a culminating discussion where we present a story and a chart where we explain these relationships of interdependence that I've just been talking about with you. So as Miss Lena and Mario Montessori worked with children from many different countries, they observed that those children all seem to have the same response to the order and the beauty in the natural world. And in this interview about those early days of their collaboration, Miss Lena stressed the importance of the children having many, many experiences in the natural world, so that cosmic education, the way we present it, would really be based on a concrete understanding. So she felt that both the children and the teachers, that means us, those of us with the training, have to spend a lot of time observing and experiencing the natural world, so that cosmic education is really drawing together an implicit understanding rather than just being some interesting way to present facts about the world. And Mario also emphasized this, that everything that was presented first had to be based on children having real experiences in nature. Now, there was also a woman named Margaret Stevenson who worked with the Montessoris. And she was later sent to the US to disseminate their work there. And she also stressed that cosmic education is not just a way to give information, but it's a way to expand knowledge or understanding in a way that really supports human development, and therefore benefits not just the individual, but all of society. She said that cosmic education prepares individuals to be able to live in society because they have adapted to it through this understanding of cosmic education, and it also results in them seeing how society can be changed for the better. So I think this is why we call Montessori an approach or an aid to life. We don't really call it the Montessori method, even though there are people that refer to it that way. So we could say that cosmic education is really the paradigm shift that allows 6 children to become active, conscious cosmic agents for change, while supporting their moral and their ethical development. And in a lecture from the 1950s, which we know was very close to the end of her life, Dr. Montessori said, "We can make the human race better by assisting the child in building his character and acquiring moral freedom." So cosmic education was developed or created with the development of second plane children and their needs in mind. And Dr. Montessori's writing about cosmic education reminds us that we have a different role than the role of a traditional educator or a traditional teacher. We often talk about the idea of a transformed adult, which means not being a teacher, but instead being a person who has the humility to learn from children. So with cosmic education, we're not teaching, we're not giving lessons in that standard sense that people think of. Everything that we offer children, even the way that we offer it, is designed to cater for the social and psychological development of those children. You may notice I'm not reading these quotes to you. I think you're all good readers. So, as implementers, we need to have the humility required to learn from children. And that is a great challenge for us, especially at the 6 to 12 level when we spend so many hours writing our own albums and practicing 6 years worth of presentations. But that 6 years of content, which is very rich, is really a framework. It's not a curriculum, and it should never be turned into one. So just as the 3 to 6 material is limited and provided keys to that child's sensorial exploration of the world, the limited content in the 6 to 12 presentations are providing keys for the imagination of this child. The human intelligence and the imaginative capacity are really unlimited. And so the presentations that we have are meant to motivate children, they're meant to entice children, and the children will go further than anything that we would suggest or assign or even imagine. But because many adults sort of outside our room, maybe some of you inside this room too, perceive the Montessori approach to be purely educational, when you are a 6 to 12 trainer, one thing that people like to ask you about is AI and education. They love to know your opinion on AI and how it's going to change the role of education or humanity in the future. I don't know. So as a trainer, I'm very happy to talk about how if you're taking a diploma course and you're using AI to write your theory essays, first of all, I can tell you your trainer knows that you're doing that. But I can also tell you that you're depriving yourself of the opportunity to really understand the Montessori principles when you let AI write your theory essay. And I can tell you even worse, is if you let AI write your materials presentations, they are absolutely mangled by AI because they will contain unnecessary padding and smoothing and homogenizing. So AI will create a version of the presentation that's something that we don't even do or say. And yesterday morning I was watching the news here, and I watched two very confident, rich men giving sparkling predictions about how AI is going to change the world. But when I think about it on a practical level, I don't really see it. I don't see AI replacing the creative work of the human mind. Because we know in a classroom, when we're offering cosmic education, our role is to shine a light for the children and then let their creative powers take over with their own ideas. And we also know, if we've been doing the wrong thing or we've seen someone else doing it, that if we don't shine a light, but instead we assign them some tasks, or we have some very stale routine in our classroom, then the children don't respond the same way because their reasoning mind isn't engaged, their imagination isn't engaged, and that's, the human capacity. If we're doing the right thing, if we're motivating the children by shining that light and letting their own creative forces take over, then it's going to look like this. And if we're not, it's going to look like something else. So these pictures are what cosmic education can look like when we trust this child's capacity to build their own understanding and to allow the freedom and the time to do that. And I don't really believe that AI can replace that creative breath of life that Irini yesterday named in so many different ways. So that was a little bit of an aside, I guess, but anyway, back to Dr. Montessori's ideas about interdependency of life and ecological networks. Those ideas were not new in human history or the history of human thinking. But what was new, and what is still new, I think, is inviting children to look at this big picture and to try to recognize their own place in it. So cosmic education's message is that the universe is a good place, and the universe needs the human being as much as the human being needs the universe. And so cosmic education really invites the best nature of the human being to shine. And as Mario Montessori said, they will feel that our world is a good place to live in and a place where generosity is expressed with every breath of life. Now, I can imagine that many of us don't feel that in our daily life. We may have developed a crusty outer shell in response to our own personal experiences. But when we implement cosmic education, it invites us to remember that the universe really enfolds us with love, and it will give us what we really need. And we will become better adults as a result of that. So those of you in this room who are trained to implement cosmic education know that in order to successfully do this for children, there are some very important elements that have to be present. Dr. Montessori wrote about those, and they're what should be guiding our work. One of the things that she talked about is the adult as a storyteller. We become a storyteller of the truth, starting with a sequence that we call the great stories, which I'm sure many of you are aware of, which we present to children when they first come to us, whether those children are 6, 8, 10, 11, it doesn't matter. These stories set a framework for understanding order and pattern and balance within the universe, for understanding universal laws, for understanding the idea of something to be fulfilled, and for understanding gratitude or recognizing or feeling gratitude for everything that has come before us. Our stories and then our presentations start children on a path that is going to lead them to question, what is my purpose here? And so if we're delivering cosmic education according to the work as it was developed in Kodaikanal, giving children those real experiences, then cosmic education can be an aid to life and not just some sort of imposed or institutionalized curriculum. I think that understanding the history of what happened in Kodaikanal is a reminder for us with the children to keep it real. And it also is a reminder to us of the better adult that we can become if we humbly learn from working with the children. And that's why I said it's not enough for us just to talk about these ideas. We really have to put them into place with children because that's where the learning happens. So we do need some specific conditions to implement cosmic education successfully. And both the physical and the psychological prepared environment are equally important. It's not going to be enough to have a classroom with materials unless we have those other factors present. So we can look at what it looks like, but looking isn't the same as making it happen. If we struggle to see success in our classroom, there could be a lot of different reasons. I think in the traditional educational paradigm, what happens is a finger is pointed at the child. The child is seen as falling behind, or maybe the normal range of human development is seen as some kind of a shortcoming. But in our approach, if it's not working, first we look at ourselves, and then we look at our environment. And if we can't see a solution in ourself or in the environment, then we also have some other resources that might guide us. So as you sit there, I'm wondering, how many of you might have some of these barriers? And what can you do about it to make a difference for the children? I mentioned that we have some resources to guide us, right? The first thing we have is our own albums. The next thing, we have our training center. We have our trainer and what's on offer, whether it's workshops or conferences like this. We have a wonderful international community for second plane practitioners called the AMI, Elementary Alumni Association. And they really want people from all over the world to be part of their group. There are some great videos that can help us. And about maybe 5 years ago, there was a book published that's very practically oriented that can really help us to think about how we bring the theory into practice successfully. Okay, now, in my diploma course lectures, I sometimes stop to tell a story, and I say to the students something like, "This is an aside," meaning don't bother typing this into your albums. So this is an aside that I'm going to tell you now. About maybe 25 years ago or something like that, I had a prospective parent come in and sit down opposite me and say, in a very adversarial sort of way, "Convince me to send my child here." And as a teacher, I found that intimidating. But I think this is one of those challenges that we have to rise to, because we live in a society that values experts. Now, some of those experts might be actual, and some of them are self-ordained experts. And in the classroom, we will be pushed to dissect cosmic education for the good of those people who value specialization. And we will be pushed to add things that are currently popular. It might be more languages. It might be violin lessons. It might be coding. But that's really not our vision in cosmic education. We are going to navigate the wave toward isolating and specializing by maintaining the balance that's inherent within cosmic education. It's the same balance that's inherent within nature. So we are going to hold steady with our principles. Now, I have to speed up because I've only got 5 minutes left, but I'm going to get it all in. When I was preparing for this talk today, I read the transcript of a talk that was given in the US by Margaret Stevenson in 1998. She was talking about cosmic education, and her title was it in conflict with the typical educational curriculum? And so that challenge that I had from that parent in Australia 25 years ago is not really a new topic, I think. It's not a new challenge to the validity of cosmic education. And in her talk, Margaret Stevenson spoke about some of the same things that I have. She talked about the way the framework is delivered, about recognizing the value of cosmic education for the needs of the 6 to 12 child. And then she mentions some of the ways that we ruin cosmic education with our lack of commitment. And I want to read some of those to you. So these are some of the things that she said in 1998 people were doing and ruining cosmic education. Tell the children they must always start the day with language and mathematics and do a required amount of work in each of these subjects before being free to do anything else. Complete a workbook assignment each day. After a lesson from the teacher, do assigned work on it, always. Use prepared cards for examples for language and mathematics work, always. The children should never make up their own examples. They might come up with something they cannot do. write on the board each morning what work has to be done that day by each group. Divide the subjects within cosmic education into what is for first years, second years, third years. If you're in the first year, you may not go to a lesson being given to second years. At the beginning of the day, get children to write a list of what they're going to work on that day. Forget about stories. The children have assignments to do and tests to pass. Remember that the children have to do spelling tests, conduct inquests and dissection of any book they read. Remind children that reading is not for enjoyment, it's for comprehension. Also, use worksheets. I won't name the different titles, but some of them are still around today of these different programs. And I don't know about in India, because I haven't observed here, and I don't know what's happening in your classrooms, but I can tell you for sure it's still happening in 2026 in Australia. It's the same stuff. So, some of us may have a beautiful, prepared environment. We may have a very comfortable school with a nice, stable enrollment. But maybe we've lost focus on what we're really meant to be doing, or maybe we've misunderstood the goals of cosmic education. Maybe we have been delivering it as if it were a curriculum, or maybe we're advertising to families that cosmic education will make their child smarter, or better, or more competitive than someone else's child. So in that lecture, Ms. Stevenson closes by reminding us of our commitment to serve children's development in the best way possible, and what that means in the second plane. And the results of cosmic education, when it's really implemented fully, will be alert, active, aware human beings who really want to serve humanity. And I'll tell you, I'm getting old, and the older I get, the more I definitely want to live in a world that is populated and guided by these conscious cosmic agents, rather than a series of algorithms. I know that the educational experiences of these children will have built the empathy and the independence that are required for adaptation to the future. And we know that cosmic education as an approach will deliver these results if it's implemented according to those discoveries and synthesis of ideas that happen in Kodaikanal. And we know it because we can see it happening in a lot of places around the world. But unfortunately, we don't see it in enough places yet. I think there are more children that still need our help. So I invite you to think about what you want in the future. Why do we want active, imaginative thinkers when we could rely on AI to solve our problems? Well, do we think that AI will be compassionate toward us and generous toward others? Do you think it will put us first, the way humans put the good of others first? The way we put aside our momentary desires or whims? Do we think that AI will recognize the millennia that built our natural world and the duty that we as humans have to care for nature because it sustains us? Do we think that AI is endowed with the same special gifts of the mind and the heart and the hand? Do we really want to relinquish our own ability to imagine and create and serve others to something that is really an algorithm? So I think that the future of Montessori's contribution to a more peaceful and a more tolerant society founded on service to the community, which is really a paradigm shift in the meaning or understanding or purpose of education, is really within us. What we do in our schools and what we do in our classrooms every single day matters. Cosmic Education for 6 to 12 children fulfills a plan. It's a plan that allows them to complete their life as children, knowing what they need to know, having an awareness of themselves, having an awareness of others and the world we live in, so that they can then enter the next stage of development, which Jenny talked about yesterday, ready to embrace the challenges and the joys and the responsibilities that will be part of that third plane. And I thank you for listening this morning.